A budget is by far one of the best tools you can have to manage your money because it not only ensures that you have enough cash for your actual expenses, but also for savings, debt repayment, and fun. And there are numerous ways to budget, but one approach that seems to be a favorite among a lot of people is the 50-30-20 budget. And I think people like it because it's such a simple formula, and if you follow it, it can help you live within your means and save on a consistent basis. So today's video is going to be an overview of how this budget works, and I'm going to break down the formula plus give a few options if it isn't realistic for you at this time. Now, one thing I have to say before diving into the video is that before any budget can work, it is so important that you're using your net income or your after-tax income. And I have to throw that in there because some people will create a budget using their gross income. And if you do that, what you're actually doing is overstating your income, in which case your budget gets off to a bad start. Now, like I said earlier, this is a very simple formula. And with the first part of this budget plan, you basically don't want to spend more than 50% of your after-tax income on needs. Now, when it comes to the needs category, this is where a lot of people tend to go wrong because some people will put an expense in this category that doesn't really count as a need. Now, needs, they can vary from person to person. But in the simplest terms, a need is basically something that you have to buy or pay for. It isn't a choice, and common needs can include housing, insurance payments, utilities, food, and minimum debt payments. Now, these expenses are common for a lot of people, but depending on your situation, you might have to add to this category. And to give you an example, maybe you have young children, meaning that you also have a monthly daycare expense. If that is the case, don't forget to include this on your needs list. Now, to reiterate, for this budget plan to work, that means that all expenses in this category combined should not exceed 50% of your after-tax income. Now, for that to work, that also means that you have to spend a reasonable amount on your needs. Now, with some costs, there are limits as far as what you can do to get them lowered. And this can apply to insurance, utilities, and even daycare costs. And although you can shop around, compare rates, or ask for discounts, there's typically less control over how much you pay for these expenses. But you might have a little more control over other items on your needs list, such as housing and food. And one tip to help keep your needs within 50% of your net is really to keep your housing expense reasonable to your income. Now, ideally, your housing should be 28% to 30% of your gross or lower if possible. But of course, depending on where you live, this can be challenging depending on the cost of living, but it is definitely something that you can aim for, even if it means maybe living at home a little longer or getting a roommate. And as far as groceries, I recently read that a good price point is to spend $25 per person per week or $100 a month per person. Now, I know personally we definitely spend slightly more than that, and that's even with using cost saving strategies, so that might be a little challenging, but it is definitely something you can try to see if it works for your family. Now, also with this budget, the goal is to spend no more than 30% of your net income on wants. So here is where you have some freedom and flexibility. However, it is also this category that tends to destroy a lot of budgets. In my opinion, 30% is more than generous. And if you've seen any of my past videos, you know how I've always spoken about the danger of depriving yourself to save money, because oftentimes it can backfire. So by having this category, it really gives you an opportunity to enjoy the fruits of your hard work, which can help you avoid frugal burnout. And an example of items you can add to your wants category might include miscellaneous shopping, entertainment and recreation, eating out, subscription services, and even gym memberships. And the reason I like this budget so much is because if you are able to keep your needs and your wants within those percentages, that means that you will almost always have money left over for savings and debt repayment. And you can then use that 20% to save an emergency fund or a sinking funds account, or you can save more for retirement or use it to increase your debt payments. Remember, your needs category only takes into account minimum debt payments. And of course, when you only pay the minimum, it takes longer to get rid of a balance. But if you're able to add a little extra to those payments every month, you can get rid of it quicker. But while this budget plan does cover all the bases, it might not be realistic for you at the moment, because after you run the numbers, you may realize that you are spending way more than 50% of your net income on needs. And if that is the case, that might not be something you can fix overnight. So while this budget is a great guide and is definitely something you can work towards, reward, you really have to tailor it to where you are today. So you really have to tweak it to your circumstances and choose a variation that's more realistic. And one option might be to spend 70% on needs, 20% on wants, and 10% on savings and debt repayment. Or you can flip it and spend 10% on wants and 20% on savings and debt repayment. Or if you're spending 80% on needs, you might spend 15% on wants and 5% on savings and debt. Now, ultimately, the goal is to eventually spend no more than 50% of your net on needs. So no matter where you are today, make sure that saving money remains a priority, because that's how you're going to be able to get ahead. So that's all that I have for you guys today. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, definitely consider subscribing. Here we talk a lot about personal finance. So if you like videos like this, I do post every weekend and sometimes during the week. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in a few days.